Hello, and welcome to now you know the rest of the story with Tim Gileo. She's Tuesday, the 17th of September, 2019. Thank you for those that watched the watch party on Sunday. We got quite a little turnout by the time it was done. Fortunately, we went over and over and over again a lot of the same questions. So if you missed the questions, we ended up with 2.5 hours, almost 2 hours and 20 minutes of running around in circles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take the majority of the main questions. These are ones that I assume the people asking were from the industry, primarily on the safety side, probably from the drilling companies, or the oil companies, I should say. We also had some guys that were obviously from the government in there that were asking some questions, but their questions are all based on the same stuff. So it was, how are you going to affect change? Well, what I'm going to do to affect change, I tried to allude to that, is we're going to go back to do what we used to do. Now, what we used to do was, it might seem, well, we've advanced. Well, we didn't. What we did with field service management system and all its imaginations as we move forward, we went to the industries that I worked in, the industries that other people worked in, and we looked at how we affected accountability and transparency. Well, we worked in some industries that were under media scrutiny all the time. So because of the media scrutiny, we had to make sure that we were extremely transparent and that we never deviated. That everything was always 100% exactly the same thing over and over again. Now, moving that into our industry should have been relatively simple. I mean, we've always had safety of a kind, when most of the time it's doghouse safety. We talk about that in letters to the industry and letters to the government, that how it's been doghouse. We talked about the nature of what keeps the administration and these oil companies from being accountable. It's exactly the same situation that you have in government, which is no different. This is the deep state. The deep state's embedded in both your government and in your large public corporations. This is the way that they protect themselves, and they affect the resolve that they want whenever they want it, right, wrong, or indifferent. They're going to get it. We've gone over in our videos. We've gone over what happened with the lawsuit over the PMO when the government didn't care, right, whether it broke the law or not. The person that they went to, I mean, he's under threat of his job. He's going to do whatever he's told. He doesn't care. I mean, even though he's the Attorney General, right? We can see what luck we're having with the RCMP and the Attorney General charging our Prime Minister, even though he's clearly guilty. I mean, that one you don't even have to wait for the trial. So the Ethics Commission's already come out and said he's guilty, but now he's guilty of much more than just that. So now we have a situation where you have a breakdown within our government. Our government broke down a long time ago. We have a breakdown within our industry. We discussed that. We discussed that, how the cliques work within each other to protect the center, protect the quarterback. They work their way out. They're full of cronyism and nepotism to make sure that the people running an industry, or the core group, once you're inside that core group, you're always protected. They bring outsiders in that they leave on the fringes, and those people become the victims. When something goes down, eventually those people end up taking, they're the fall guys. Or girls. So these girls now too. So that's that was a little joke at the end there. So that's where we're at with what we're going to try to go back to, is how we got accountability in my day and age. It was based on a lawsuit. I was I was still relatively young. I hadn't been on the rigs very long. Drilling consultant came along, worked for the oil company we're working for. His buddy was in court because they'd had a death on the job he was on. And they wanted to, to hang the whole death on him. That's one of the reasons I keep, we talked about that in the watch party, where I put these videos up on my Facebook page. Those people that are following me on Facebook, that they can go ahead and they can look them up and they can see that with the resolve instead of the movie type version of it. What we put up the investigative analysis of them. And then you can see that on every case, the oil company or the logging company, the company's always going to try to make it human error. Always going to try to put on a human being. The reason they do that, because then it deflects away from the company's policies and procedures. So company's policies and procedures come into place, that generates liabilities. So if you look at what happened with Bill C-45, Bill C-45 was designed to create liabilities. That's what it's there for. It's designed to say, okay, the bill came out because of what happened in 1992 in the West Ray mine, where the corner office decided to shut off the methane alarm systems in the mine because they kept going off. They kept having the air out the mine, and it was interfering with profits. So every time that the corner office makes a decision, it's based on the profits. Now, if you have major shareholders that either sit on your board or don't sit on your board, they can start phoning in and saying, well, we need more money, or they start threatening you. You will look at your business, especially if you're one of the, if you're a person who built the business from scratch. You have a tendency to get a little intimidated by that, and you start trying to find money, resources. Well, we've offered them, going back to the early 2000s, we offered them 15 to 20% improvement in operational efficiencies. And we offered that by bringing in accountability. Now, the accountability was based on what happened to this guy who's getting sued, right? You've got this guy who's getting these criminal charges. And he's saying it wasn't me. I was following the procedures from my boss. My boss told me what to do, right? The boss said I didn't tell him. I got that from the office. So this gentleman happened to do something. Is he always kept a logbook. Every day he went to work, he had a log. So, today, September 17th, 9 o'clock in the morning, John said, do this. I went and did this. We're running 219.1 kilogram casing at 34.5, blah, 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 whatever your weight is, to a depth of whatever, right? So, then he would write down what he's doing, right? We run this PDC bit, right? We pulled this, we did this. The reason he was doing that, there's two reasons behind doing it. Now what happens is the guy's creating his own catalog. So not only is he recording everything he's been told to do, everything he's doing, but he's also creating a catalog. So when he presented this 20 years worth of documentation to the judge, the man was pretty much sunk at that point. And his lawyer walks up and says, well, this is what the man's been doing. So his word is worth more than the word of everybody else. So the judge, when they went through and they looked at it and realized that these were not manufactured, these were actual historical logs. Then when they read his log was actually historical. Right? It was taken as the Bible because he had historically proven that's what he did. So one of the things that his buddy that I was working for, our rig was working for, what they did is he come out and give everybody these little books. They fit in your pocket and they're hardcover, and you could buy inserts for them. And he insisted every day when you went to work, you wrote down in that book that journal, what you did, who told you to do something, didn't care who told you to do it. You always wrote down what you were told. Now, the beauty about that is when you got a green guy, the green guy doesn't know. So when you're training guys, they don't know. So if I'm going to tell him something and that's a little bit risky, and I want to use him for my risk management without me taking any risk, then that works okay today under our safety or clerical safety programs because you know what? Hey, he signed off not to do that. Just what? I didn't tell him to do it, right? Yeah, that's the first thing going to be out of your mouth, or it's not out of my mouth because I would just want to do that to somebody, but a good percentage of the people do. So what ends up happening, if somebody's writing down, Tim said do this. Well, guess what? Tim's going to make damn sure he tells them how to do it properly. Do you understand? And when Tim says, do you understand how to do it properly, write that in your damn book, right? So then Tim's going to take out his book. I told John to go do this. And then I asked John if he knew how to do it properly. Right? So now you have what happens is now you have accountability. Everybody's been accountable for everybody else. It doesn't matter if it's the CEO all the way through. Now we had another way of trying to do that. One of the problems we have with our safety programs is not that we disagree with a lot of the hazard assessments and that type of stuff. We do agree with them. But we agree when you identify them that at least people should. The government, the industry, they should at least follow through with what they say they want to do. The reason they want you to identify them, so you identify them. That's what we did with over this the pressure tasting issues. So we identify these issues. We take them up to the we go through the system. That's the 637 officers and directors, 64 top oil companies, all the way up to the PMO's office. And what do we end up with? We end up with Bunkus. Next thing you know, we're suing the PMO because he's literally telling us to pound sand. Right, because they don't believe in our. I said I still got a cold, guys, so forgive me there, but sweating here too. But that ends up, the thing about accountability is that goes out the window. Now, when we want to see if we've done things in real time, we're talking about PDAs or your little recorders. That's not a brand new thing. We talked about those years and years ago when they first started coming out. Wouldn't it be nice if we had one of those? I can remember the first touchscreen, wireless touchscreen you seen was from FedEx. So you got a FedEx package and you just signed for it. Wow! All right, there you go. The payment system, everything, right on one little screen. So that was a long time ago. Nowadays, of course, we have our little PDAs. They're cheap, inexpensive, And I seen a drilling rig back a few years ago who actually worked for Birchcliff for a long time. It's called Excalibur. And Excalibur, actually, they started using put all their safety programs on there. So the nice thing about it is you go through the safety program, and everybody had to read it and sign off on it like you always did. It didn't that it stopped the dog housing. It just made the dog housing more prevalent because now it could track how long you're on a page. So it could track the things where you're actually reading it, where you actually, did you actually take the time. So, I mean, now you started to streamline that. You can streamline that with other parts that I don't want to really get into because what it goes to the tracking, efficiency tracking of each individual. And yeah, is that a good idea? If you want to increase efficiencies, you got to track the efficiency of everybody so you understand who's good at what. So if you're going to hire a pressure testing company and they send out Tim. Tim's not bad, but we'll score him on a scale of 1 to 10. We'll say Tim's a 7. So, okay, so Tim has some deficiencies. What's Tim's deficiencies, right? So you can start to look at it. So there's a way we're going to do that, and we're going to make it. We want to make it fair. That's one of the reasons we also need these PDAs. We want to make it fair for everybody because we want a grading system. Who better to grade everybody than everybody you work with? So I mean, here goes the arrogance out the window. I mean, people don't like that part because all of a sudden now you can grade me as a pressure tester, but I can grade you as a driller. I can grade you as a tool push. I can grade you as a consultant. Matter of fact, I'm going to grade you, and you're going to grade me. It's not. You have to. That becomes every service you use. This person from this service. So the next service, they call it another pressure testing company. That company comes out and let's say they're 2% efficient, right? So they don't really have a clear understanding of their job, but they could drive the truck there on time. So you got to get props for being on time. So basically where we're at again is now we don't want to get people removed from the industry. We want to streamline the industry so that everybody becomes basically a clone of the next person. So we're doing the job correct all the time. That's what that's the idea behind that little, that little book, right? Where they were writing all that information in, because now you've kept a clone of all the information. As you go through your career, you wanted to know, when was the last time we run that type of tool? You go back and you could find that in your own documentation. It made everybody more efficient. One of the problems we identified is people when they rise to the top in this industry. Right, they rise up mainly because of who they know. Right, it's who they know, not what they know. A lot of times you get a lot of people throw people under the bus. That's a real famous thing in our industry. Everybody, most people here have experienced it. You get thrown under the bus. Well, when you get thrown under the bus, it kind of hurts. It smarts a little bit, and the guy has a tendency to get a little angry and do stupid things, especially for me. And then the next thing you know, you're running into the biggest bosses you can find and making them buy drinks all night. And boy, could I drink when I was younger. So they found out they didn't make enough money. That's why they had to get a raise up to 237 times the normal person's income. So I'm trying to have a little bit of fun with this, guys, because it's like I said, when you're sick and you're trying to do this, it isn't fun at all. But so there's what we're trying to do with the changes, and that's what field service management is all about. It's not that that I won't allow people to look at field service management. Anybody can see it. Like I said, if we have time here, I'm going to have Brent put it on a page where people can go look at it. So the nice thing about that is, we're going to lose Brent here right away. He's got a bunch of pipeline companies phoning him to go back to work. So we'll probably get another watch party in or two before he leaves. So then we'll slow down a little bit of these. He'll still be editing these when he won't have the editing software, but he'll still be monitoring them and editing them wherever he's at. So that's kind of that's where we're at from the watch party. I mean, we had a lot of people since. We've had some good donations since. Thank you very much, folks. Again, this isn't going to succeed without your donations. So I mean, this is about you. We did the 17 years worth of work. There's no way the industry can't. The industry and the government can't. Right at this point, they can't physically wiggle off the hook. Not as long as we can protect the position. So as long as we can protect the position, we can get away from this. The stupidity that's become our safety programs. It's not that they didn't have valiant efforts behind trying to create them, but what's happened since is they've become relatively redundant, useless, and they get doghoused. And anybody in the industry knows what doghouse means. Doghouse means, okay, you guys go ahead and do the work, and I'll just sign everybody's name. Well, I can tell you, I've been doghousing safety stuff since at least mid '80s. So if you don't think it's still going on today, it is going on today. So removing that ability, matter of fact, if I didn't do it, Back in the days when you were drilling and you had to still make 9 copies, press hard, because you had to do 9 copies to make. Your tool push when you got the ticket book and somebody hadn't signed off, or you hadn't signed off for somebody, because you only signed off whether the guys were injured or not, even if they were. So if you didn't do it, what happened was the tool push did it, because nobody ever wanted to pay for injuries. Trust me, I suffered a lot of injuries and didn't get paid for very many of them. I got paid for one, got paid for the finger, a little bit, but that's kind of where we're at. Where these games have been going on. So when we created this business, it was to end these games, and let's try to find a way to not only remove the liability the best we can from the senior management, so they can still continue to function, but to increase the efficiency, to increase the profitability. Therefore, we could pay for more improved safety and more improved benefits. And with that came along, capital costs we wanted to incur on the business. But they've gone and incurred them now. They've made the services pay for them. We wanted the industry to pay for them out of these improved profits. One of the things that stopped that, we identified that, is also when we became so foreign owned. But the foreign ownership couldn't give two hoots what's going on up here. As long as our government allows it to exist, that okay, it sounds like safety is good enough. That's all you're hearing. And we went over that in one issue with the response from May Ma Paulson. All right, I believe she. The name sounds familiar. It sounds like she was a police officer at one time. But anyhow, she's assistant deputy minister of oil and gas division of Ministry of Energy and Mines in BC. So her response on behalf of the premier of BC on an email, again, it was just there's the same bloviation. Nothing's changed. Blah 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 blah. Do as we say, not as we do. And we'll continue to abdicate, obfuscate, and include as long as we feel like it. And if we feel like grabbing a few dollars and corrupting along the way, that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying that's what she said exactly, but that's what the gist of it is. No different than what we pointed out with the lawsuit, where next thing you know, we have a regional attorney general of Canada, worried about his livelihood, I guess you could say. So he sends out a reply 6 weeks late, 6 weeks after he was supposed to reply. So that only happened because we started doing the videos, and they realized they had a liability out there. So I mean, his reply, mentioned some good law. It was good enough that the Crown decided to use it, and then everybody else decided to use it. When I pointed out that law was extinguished 7 years later. 7 years later, they had an exemption to that law, or a change of that law, jurisdictional change. As soon as we pointed that out to them, they didn't care. Well, we'll deal with it when they give you a settlement hearing. Do you think anybody's going to show up at the settlement hearing? Well, they're not going to show up. If he's going to show up, if there's even a phone call, if he remembers, the whole idea is just to get this past the election. That's all they're trying to do. Get it past the election. There's enough of these things out there. And we're talking about serious criminal charges here. I mean, I did it through small claims action, which they said there was no jurisdiction, but there is jurisdiction under the changes in 1992 to the Act that you can, as long as you name each person individually. That's the reason we named the ministry and the people, so we could qualify under that stipulation. So we kind of knew when we were going in that we were right, they were wrong, but it doesn't matter, because the same thing you're going to have. The reason we've given my MLA, so they can share it amongst their members, a copy of a book that describes, we've described this a few times, it describes the use of the use of bureaucrats to dictate the law, not what the law is, but the way they want the law to apply in the situation they find themselves. So that's what's happening, and that's called, that's actually corruption. But they do that by colluding. So the person that's ordered the first Attorney General, which would be the Justice Minister, the Attorney General of Canada, he would have ordered the Attorney General to deal with this. So this regional Attorney General deals with it. So the first guy is corrupt because he knows he has an issue that he didn't deal with that he should have dealt with. So instead, he's ordering this guy to find a response to it. So he's colluding. The second guy's colluding with the first guy, who is the Lametti, our Minister of Justice, which hopefully that guy gets sent back to some place in a far off galaxy. Then from there, it comes to the Crown. So the Crown starts looking at it. The clerks are running back and forth. They don't know what to do. They're nervous as cats on a hot tin roof because they're having to deal with me in front of them. At the same time, they're trying to figure out how to get rid of me because they don't know what to deal with this. Right? Well, the people upstairs. So when I went upstairs, the people upstairs want to talk. Hell no, they want to go run and hide too. I mean, you're dealing with people that aren't. I mean, they're bullies. Let's just face it, they're bullies. And that's what we deal with the industry. So when it comes to our safety programs, everybody has tried to deal with it. Everybody in the industry knows it's a joke. Right? How many times you hear it? It's just crap. Right? So we all know it's a joke, but let's stop. But as soon as we start treating it like a joke, as soon as we start calling it a joke, because it really isn't a joke, but as soon as we start calling it a joke, what happens is we start to treat it like a joke. So then any efficiency or any effectiveness of any of the safety it has had disappears. It's gone. There's no hope of getting it back. So unless we change it up, and the idea behind changing it up is why are these guys going out? Why did I only have to take 2 tickets, right? By the time these kids, we pointed this out the other day, by the time these kids at where it is today, right, or reach the end of the guy coming in the industry, by the time he reaches the end of his life cycle, he's the sheer number of tickets he's going to have to buy and rebuy every 3 years. Is that because he's no longer, he forgot anything about it? How about if we just gave him a little update? There's an update here, go on the computer and do it for free. Oh, a free thing, that might bug them a little bit, but that's what we're going to have to get to. Because the way it is right now, what we're doing to these people is by the time they're done the time they're finished, right? We limit their ability to go back and forth to work. We've talked about this before. We turn them into basically beggars, thieves, pimps, drug addicts, and whores, right? Because they got to get the money from somewhere if they want to get to work. And you know what? All of a sudden, you've got to come up with a big whack of money. It used to be couple $100. Now it's a lot more. You do have some government services for some of it, but now you have to get into it and you have to qualify for these government services. So if you do get in, you do get the government to pay for it. Then they come along with auxiliary courses because why? Because now you have a justification process that everybody's got to justify their job, and now you're into into a governmental type business that everybody wants to justify their job to keep their income coming in. So, I mean, we end up with this big vicious circle. So the idea is just to cut the circle. Let's go back to the bare minimum, right, for now. We need to scale up this business. Let's go back to the bare minimum. Let's go back to making people accountable all the way up. They're not going to like it. That's why I need your guys' names on that petition. That's why I need, when you're on that petition, remember, you're joining that class action. We do have the carrot. I mean, that's the carrot. That's a huge carrot, guys. We're putting this out there for you. We've put our cojones on the line here. Right, we've been running this for a long time to try to benefit you, the people, the workers, and the service sector businesses. And the service sector businesses don't want to cooperate. That's fine. I mean, if you're that shallow, right, and that's what it is. It's shallow. If you're that shallow, I'm just gonna quit using your safety program. Because if I come into your office and I see a corporate core sticker out there, boy oh boy, right, you're gonna get served, and I don't want to have to serve you, but I got every right to do it. You went and took a course, and you based your whole course. You got that safety that core program based off of some of my technology. So nobody's denied it. This industry forced you into it. It's extorting you to do it. Did they come in and say, "Oh, we're sorry here. We'll pay Mr. Gileo"? No, that ain't happening, is it? So you can just all we're asking is sign it. We're asking you guys that can afford it, right? Kick up a few bucks. Right? I mean, this is going to get nasty sooner than later because the alternative, we all hate the environmentalist guys, but here's what the alternative is. How about we just go sell this to the environmentalist guys? Next thing, you don't think that they're going to be at your door ordering cease and desist and shutting everything and taking everything you own? I mean, wouldn't that be a nice thing to do? Well, if they get to me and something happens to me, guess what? There are people in here that are so annoyed at this industry, so pissed off at it, that they'll actually do that. So the only thing that stops them is that, they don't have enough control at this point. So, they put in a lot of money, right? They've watched people, some of the members die. So the people started it. They're not happy. They're not happy with this run around, this jerk around. I mean, we're fighting right now during a political period of time. That's why we're trying to get as many names as we can. That's why I ask people, download those things, right? Get everybody to sign them. Get them sent to us, right? The reason being, this is the best time. We go and slap this in the face of the new government when they come in, and they go, no, we're just going to abdicate and obfuscate and screw around like everybody else did before. And we're going to go back doing the same thing. We can say, no, you're not. Because if you do, right, oh, well, then watch what happens. We're going to own the industry. So if you're on that list, right, you're going to be the owners. You'll be the new owners, right? Not those public companies. They've already failed, right? I mean, you already look at what's going on. So they've already failed to meet their obligations. So they can either come and say, hey, look, guys, let's come to an agreement. So you can guarantee they're watching this stuff. And I'm tired of being nice, right? I'm getting sick and tired of being nice. I mean, I'm sick right now. That doesn't help. So I'm sick. I'm kind of a miserable bastard. But on top of that, guess what, guys? We're doing this for you. Sign that damn petition. Join these class action suits. Again, when you sign a petition, it's got a check mark, so we know what class you'd be in. So when we go up in front of the judge, we know how many people we're going to stick in each class. It just you're the tip of the spear, right? So you guys sign this up. You're the tip of the spear. You think on Friday when I send a letter off to Cap again on Friday, and I say, okay, on since in a week we've got 2,000 signatures. Well, that might sound like a whole lot, but guess what? That's a lot of signatures in the middle of what's going on politically and geopolitically around the world right now. That shows you people are paying attention. You're tired of it. The reason that these tickets got out of hand and ballooned where everybody needed so many tickets is because Pitts went to Inform, and Inform became a for-profit organization. And as soon as it became for-profit, guess what you do when you're trying to make profits? You maximize your profits. So I mean, what do you expect was going to happen? So that's where we are today. Forgive me. That's where we are again today, right? So now we're with a for-profits organization that's now gone back to Escape Energy Safety Canada, and that's to try to escape from that. We talked about why on the service industry side or the supply industry side, why we have two compliance networks. So we have ComplyWorks and we have ISN. Well, that's because otherwise it looks there's no deflection saying that we're not an extortion. But that's why we pointed out where we go, they seem to divide up the requirement amongst the companies that are there, so that you require both of them. So again, we can bring in all the safety people you want from the safety side. We're going to bring in some extra safety people to help us out on this. But that's kind of where we're at. It's not a matter of anybody wants you to be unsafe. Matter of fact, we want you to be safe. We want it to be so it's something that you want to cooperate, you want to participate in. So if you want to participate in the safety and environmental stewardship, then it's something when you take pride in that. But when it's browbeat and it's extorted and you're forced into it, what happens is yeah, it was fun to learn that, except for now, I gotta go to work. Do I apply it? You're still relying on the guy next door. So unless you're an accountability system, that's why we're gonna these little books are pretty simple. You can go buy them at the printing stores, right? Just go buy yourself a little book. Pen. Start writing shit down. I tell you what, people see you writing stuff down, you tell them what's going on, and just for fun, bring an extra 5 books and 5 pens. Right? However many guys on your crew. And after they see you, and every time the boss tells you to do something, right? He sees you writing it down, you watch. He won't tell you to do anything that's risky anymore. He'll stop. Right? We're going to go full scale. We're going to do it the proper way. Now, when he talks to his boss in Calgary, and his boss says, do this, I'll just do it that way, so I can't. I got to get out there writing everything down. He's giving books to his crew, and his crew writes everything down. And, let them deal with it. But if you work for a drilling company, for instance, the drilling company's going to like it, right? Because I mean, they're not going to get browbeat by the oil company anymore. If you're working for a pipeline company, the same thing. If you're working for a company, they're going to like it. You're going to like it because it's going to take away a lot of the. People are going to ask you to do stupid stuff. Right? They're not going to ask you to do the risky stuff. They're going to tell you to do it right. Why? That's what your safety program is supposed to tell you. We have safety meetings, and we're going to do it right. And we're going to do all of this right. But here, this is the enforcement. Paper and pen. This is the most powerful tool known to humanity. You write something down. Guess what? That becomes the Bible unless somebody challenges it. So you guys, hopefully that helped clear it up a little bit. I'll try a little bit later on. Again, go and subscribe to our YouTubes. Ring the bell. Throw some cash our way if you got some. All right, make damn sure you sign that petition. Get all your friends to sign the petition. And it doesn't matter if you work for the oil companies. You know, I had a couple of my own relatives say, Uncle, we can't even, we'd like to follow you, but if we get caught following you, man, we're in trouble. I actually know the oil company work for us. I said, don't worry about it. I said, when your boss comes up, I said, I'll go have a little conversation with it. I said, you won't like it too much. I said, but you don't have to follow me. All you do is sign a petition. You're in the same boat. So everybody's in the same boat. Let's get out of that boat. We can make this the safest. Like I said, by October 22nd, we want to be starting with a brand new program, and it's easy to do. Right? All these oil companies, they got to come to the table. The government doesn't have, I don't even need the government to come to the table. It doesn't want to, right? But it doesn't matter. The oil companies can come to the table. The government are just as liable, right? They both were involved in this collusion, this corruption. They're both liable. But you know what? Right now, the oil company can come to the table. If not, we'll have to wait for our new government. Our government's been waiting after the election. We're going to create as much pain as we can between now and the election. If you're sitting in front of your politician, ask them about safety in the environment in the oil and gas industry. Pipelines are good. Don't get me wrong; it's a lot better than what happened in Lac Magenta, right, when they decided to kill a bunch of people with the train blowing up. Pipelines are good. Everything's good. Just and hey, you're talking to a guy who's actually was at the tail end of a pipeline explosion, but that was another story. I think I told that already. If not, I'll tell it one of these other days. But you guys take care. I'm going back to my bed. See you later.